Hello everyone, this is Dave, and today I'm going to be making base wreaths using 6-inch deco mesh, and I'm going to show you how to do it two ways with no cutting. What I'm going to be using today is a 14-inch wire wreath frame, a measuring device, so a ruler. I'm using my cutting mat here, Chanel stems or pipe cleaners, and I have this dollar store deco mesh, which is 6 inches by 9 yards, and I have 6 rolls of these. So that's pretty much everything you're going to need to complete these projects. A little Wreath 101, this is a 14-inch wire wreath frame. We have 4 wires going all the way around with anchors every now and then, and today we're going to be using the inside 2 wires all the way around. And that's all you need to know for this. The bubble method. So this is one of my favorite methods to use. First, I usually cut all of my Chanel stems in half. I just take my pair of scissors and cut them in half to little pieces like this, and then I just have a pile to the side. I find it's a little bit easier, and then that way there's not a lot of extra Chanel stem to cut at the very end. So for this method, I have used 21-inch deco mesh in the past, and it's worked great. I love it, but I wanted to try using it with just the 6-inch deco mesh from the dollar store. So what I'm doing is I'm overlapping 3 rounds of the deco mesh on top of each other, and I'm just going to hold it down there for a second while I show you how to anchor. And all I do is I just gather at the very end all 3 layers. So all 3 layers are just stacked right on top of each other. And I'm going to create an anchor with that crossbar and the 2 inside wires. So I'm going to place the deco mesh there, grab my Chanel stem that I've cut previously, and I'm going to place one end through the bottom loop and the other end at the top one. Flip it over. Make sure the deco mesh, the anchor, and the 2 wires are all together, and then I'm just going to give it a good twist around, making sure that it's nice and secured. And there we go. I have my anchor all set. It's not going anywhere. And now I'm going to measure out my first bubble. So I'm going to be doing bubbles 8 inches in length. So that's for each bubble 8 inches with the 3 layers of the deco mesh. So I just match it up to 8 inches, hold it tight, and I bring it to those 2 inside wires there, hold it in place, grab my cut Chanel stem, and the same thing, we're going to place the Chanel stem in between the top and the bottom openings, and we're going to twist and hold that deco mesh into place. So when we flip it over again, you can push it down, and then you can just spread out those 3 layers to create a nice big bubble. How was that? Simple? So let's do it again. I'll show you how to do it one more time. So we just measure out the 8 inches. Bring that in to the 2 wires there in the middle, grab that Chanel stem, put it through the openings at the top and the bottom, and then we're going to twist to make sure we get it nice and secure. And then once you flip it over, you can spread out those 3 deco mesh in between, just to give it that nice little bubble effect. Spread them all out, and then you can push it all together, and you're going to kind of see what the final result is. And then you just do that all the way around. Now there is another way you can attach them, and I'll show you it right here. So again, you still measure out that 8 inches. You can grab your pipe cleaner Chanel stem. You can twist it around the deco mesh right here as I'm showing you. And then what you can do is once you're done twisting it there, you can place it through the loops, nice little openings there, and twist it to the center two wires. Those are a couple of ways that you can do that. I prefer the first way. I'm just used to it. That's the way I've always done it. So either way works perfectly. As you can see, you can't tell the difference between, the first, second, and third one. So now I'm just going to go through the whole thing, and I'm just going to create my bubbles using 8 inches and just attaching it to the center two wires. Now, for each section in between those crossbars, I usually do about 5. So I think for this one here, I did do 5 bubbles in each little section. And you just saw there I cut off a little bit of the excess chenille stems just to clean it up a bit. So now I'm pretty much almost done my rolls here. I'm working on my last one. And basically for the last one, I am going to do another anchor. So just like we did right at the very beginning, when you end your roll, I usually like to anchor it as well, such that the deco mesh doesn't move anywhere. So I just anchor it, cut off the excess, and it's the exact same process we've been doing for a little bit on this project. Then I turn it over, I unfluff everything, separate all the 3 layers just to get that nice bubble effect. And we're going to be starting on with our other deco mesh rolls because the first one is done. So again, we are just layering the 3 layers of deco mesh, and we're going to create an anchor by squishing it all together, holding it down, and placing it on the 2 middle wires with that chenille stem. And I'm just going to include the excess tail from the previous deco mesh just to clean it up a bit. And then we will proceed again with our measuring out of the 8 inches and attaching it to the wire frame. And we just continue on and on. Now for me, I've used this method with the 3 rolls of the 6-inch deco mesh, and I've also used the 21-inch deco mesh. And after I did this, I have to tell you, I really love using the 6 rolls of the 6-inch deco mesh. I thought it came out looking really good. I was really happy with the results. So if you're ever in a pinch between the 21-inch and the 6-inch, it works just as well, in my opinion. So there you go, you just saw how I finished it off there, and I'm just kind of making sure everything's evened out. And for the last little bit, I'm just going to unravel those 3 layers of deco mesh. And you know what, while I was doing this, I was thinking you can do 3 different colors. I'm using the same color just to test this all out, but what's stopping you from using 3 different colors? I think that would be amazing, and I think I might do that for maybe an upcoming episode as well. So there you have it. Here's your base bubble wreath with no cutting using 6-inch deco mesh from the dollar store. I think it turned out amazing, and I'm so happy with this. So you can use this base for any occasion, any decor you want. It's totally up to you how you want to decorate it. For the second method, here is the Ruffle Method. So again, we are using 6-inch deco mesh wreath, and we are going to start off with an anchor. And like the previous wreath, I cut and prepare my chenille stems and put them to the side. So for an anchor here, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to use the 2 inside wires, and we're going to push the deco mesh through the top and the second layers. Does that make sense? Maybe not, I'll show you in a second. So I'm going to fold the deco mesh in half, and let's pretend for a second that the wire is my finger, and then I'm going to wrap it around that wire right there. That's how we're going to do our Ruffle Method. Now the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut off and square off the deco mesh because it was cut on an angle. So I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. And then I'm going to start with my anchor by gathering the deco mesh together. I'm going to put it onto the wire, last wire, and that crossbar, and make sure that's all within the chenille stem, and that's going to create our anchor. So once we anchor it there, that deco mesh is not going to go anywhere. It's going to be a nice, secure start for us to do our ruffle method. So once you've got that all twisted in place, we can flip the wreath over again. I'm going to cut off that excess, and then I'm going to flip it over, and here we start. So with this ruffle method, like I said, we are pushing the deco mesh through. So you're taking the top portion of the deco mesh and pushing it through one of the openings, and then the bottom portion pushing it through the other one, and then you're going to fold it in half such that the wire is in between the deco mesh and in the middle. So you see the wire there, folded it in half, that wire is in the middle. And what I do is I usually gather with my left as I feed it with my right. So you'll see me gathering all the deco mesh with my left and holding it there as my right hand feeds it through, folding it in half and kind of pulling it up to make sure that it's pulled all the way through. And then of course it's going to gather and create all these wonderful little ruffles here. Now with this wreath form, I noticed my anchors had a little bit of an extra unfinished portion. So as I was pulling through, you just saw me cutting a whole bunch of threads. It was getting caught on that one cross wire there. So I was having a little bit of difficulty with it. And hey, that happens. We just roll with it, right? Stuff happens all the time and we just have to roll with it. So all I'm doing for each section is I am just pulling it through, and I just kind of push it all together, see how the ruffles look. Do I need more in here? Yes, I do need more. So I just continue on with that same method of folding it in half as I'm pulling it through. And then every now and then, like I'm doing here, I check to make sure how it looks, if I'm happy with it, and if I should continue on with the next section. So here I'm finishing off with the first section. And now all I'm going to do is move to the second section with the same procedure. So I'm not cutting anything, I'm not anchoring anything off. I'm just moving to the next section, pulling through, gathering everything with my left hand. And here I am, I'm almost finished that first round. Through the magic of my video editor, everything's done just like that. I wish it was that way in real life sometimes, right? So I'm almost done with that roll and that row. So what I do is I flip it over, and here you see I'm going to grab my chenille stem and I'm just going to anchor it off like we normally do. So I just twist it in place, make sure it's nice and secured, cut off that excess deco mesh, and I think I am going to cut off the excess chenille stem, and we have our first row done. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take that other wire, do the exact same method on that inside wire as well. So we're just going to grab that deco mesh. I'm going to find a place to start here, and I'm going to work my way all the way around. Now, while I was editing this, I realized normally when I start a new ribbon, I do an anchor with a chenille stem like we just did a couple of times. I don't know why I didn't do it for this portion, but I did go back and I did create an anchor. I found that beginning portion that I didn't, because you'll see here I just dive right into pulling the deco mesh through and I didn't anchor it. But my suggestion is every time you start a new roll, create that anchor just so it doesn't go anywhere. So that was my bad. I was too excited to get started. I just went right into it. So here you see I am just doing the same method all the way around on the inside until I get to the very end, checking to see if I'm happy with how full it is. And here I am going to anchor this last piece and make sure that that doesn't go anywhere. There we go. Tying off that anchor, making sure it's nice and secured, cutting the excess chenille stem, and then I'm going to cut off the excess deco mesh as well. Let's flip this guy over, get rid of some of those strands, and fluff it up and see how it looks. There you go. A nice, simple Ruffle Method using 6-inch dollar store deco mesh with no cutting involved. Well, minimal cutting. There's a few cuts, but you're not cutting 1,000 pieces like the curly method. So there you go. A ruffle wreath to use for any occasion and decorate it any way you want. What do you think? There is my 2 methods of using the 6-inch deco mesh from the Dollar Tree that you can use for any occasion. I hope you liked today's video, and if you did, leave me a comment down below, and maybe subscribe to my channel. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Thank you so much for watching me today. I really appreciate your time. Take care. Bye for now.